Hola coolers and welcome to yet another edition of Blaugrana always. If you don't really need a rocket scientist to figure out that yet again it's me alone here on this channel. And trust me, I'm not making this up. There are other coolers who make up this channel. It's just that same old story. Um, we live in different parts of the world and we have very busy schedules. So it's getting a little difficult for us to come together and find a common time for us to make videos. So until we can do that, I'm trying to I'm just trying my best to ensure that I can keep I can keep engaged with you guys. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to talk about something that has plagued Barca in recent times. But before we do that, I'm going to name a few players, few Barca players, and allow you guys to guess what the commonality between these players are. So here goes. The players are Balde, Gavi, Frankie De Jong, Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, Jules Koundé. Can you guys tell me what commonality exists between these players? Yes, you're absolutely correct. All these players have been plagued by injuries and they comprise of a long list of players injured at FC Barcelona. This is there's no mistake about it. We are in the middle of an injury crisis here at Barca, and the consequent result is that we've had to field a player as young as Lamine Yamal, who's 16 years of age in our first team. And Fermin Lopez has gotten his opportunity, and we also had another youngster coming in from La Masia, scoring the winner for our game against Athletic Bilbao. Mark Bui is his name. Remember that name. Just took two touches to go ahead and score his first ever goal for the senior Barca team. And we've actually been saved by the young players of our club, and we should really be grateful that we have so many golden boys coming out of La Masia, because had it not been for these young had it not been for these young boys, we would have been in real trouble, because our squad is really, really running very thin right now currently because of all these injuries. So I thought it might be a good idea for us to sit and decode why there are so many injuries that are happening right now. Is it just a case of bad luck? Or is there something, or is there a method behind the madness? Is there some specific reason as to why it's happening? Let's try and find out. Let's for a minute, let's not talk about Barca, and let's talk about football in general. So if you look around the world, you look at other clubs in the world, you look at Courtois from Madrid, Thibaut Courtois, you look at Kevin De Bruyne, you look at Tyrone Mings from Aston Villa. There are quite a few players who are actually injured all across the world. So this is not a problem which only Barcelona is facing. It's not prevalent just to Barca. And so the fact here is that we all know that the World Cup was held in Qatar. The whole World Cup held in Qatar, where Messi was uh, objectively crowned as the greatest player of all time. It happened in the middle of the club season last. It happened in November and December, which basically meant that players did not get their usual December break. I know the English Premier League doesn't have a break, but La Liga has a break, and I think the other leagues in the world also other than the English Premier League, also have breaks. So basically, what that meant is that the break got cut short because of the World Cup, and the consequent result was that the leagues which usually end by the first week of May approximately actually ended a little later, and consequently the preseason started at the same time that it usually does. So what that basically means, a delay in the break combined with the preseason starting when it usually does, it basically meant that players did not get the kind of rest that they usually get. And this rest time is pretty crucial for them to recuperate and be healthy again for a long season. So the World Cup has kind of messed up with the entire footballing schedule, and there were a lot of people who did talk about this, who were protesting against the World Cup being held right in the middle of the club season. And it looks like their concerns were actually pretty valid, because we're seeing injuries happen all across Europe, all across football in the world right now. We got Neymar who got injured as well. So it's not just prevalent just in Europe. It's across football. It's for football all across the world, and the fact that the World Cup was held at the time that it was does play it does there is reason to believe that that has contributed to this long list of injuries that Barcelona is facing right now. So Barca has played all their preseason games here in the United States of America, which is it takes about 9 hours to get from Europe to America. So that's a long amount of travel that the players had to subject themselves to, and it's a two-way journey. And trust me, take this from someone who's come all the way from India to the United States. Traveling can be pretty tiring, notwithstanding all of that jet lag. And you also need to take into consideration that a lot of players had yet again had to travel to South America and then back to Europe when the World Cup qualifiers take place, which once again brings me to the point, it's probably best to keep this for another video. But personally, in my opinion, I've always felt that international games should be held at the end of the season. Once the club season is done, we could probably finish the club season a month in advance so that we have that 1 month for players to play internationally. But that's a topic for another day. Perhaps we can have a great discussion on that. But again, another thing which international football and international breaks do is the fact that the training that the players undergo with their international teams and their club teams is pretty different. It can be pretty different, and the fact that they have such different training schedules may not be suiting their bodies as well. So that could be another reason as to why we are facing so many injuries at the moment. And lastly, so now I've spoken about the reasons that I've spoken about so far have majorly been common reasons, reasons which have been common to all clubs. So now let's take a minute to talk about problems which may exist in Barcelona specifically. So if you just take a quick look at Barcelona's Instagram page, you'd see that most of the training that Barca players do are on the pitch. They're not doing too much of they're not doing too much of muscle work, not doing too much of gym work. And this is something that Javi Simmons has also spoken about in his time at PSG. He's spoken about how the training at Barcelona is, in terms of strength training, the players are just not conditioned and strengthened according to what a professional footballer should be. So maybe this is something that warrants a little bit of self introspection. Perhaps we need to do things a little differently when it comes to our training. Of course, on the field training is very important, but there's a lot of other training that goes into making sure that a player's body is ready to endure 90 minutes of a football game. Our style of football is that high press style of football which requires players to be running almost for the entirety of 90 minutes, and for that it's very important that their muscles are conditioned to be able to run for those 90 minutes and to be pressing throughout the 90 minutes. And another problem with Barcelona is the fact that we I think everyone knows about our financial woes. And given our financial woes, we've done pretty good in the transfer market. In all honesty, we've gotten a good squad, but there is a limitation to how many players that we can get as players who may not be part of the starting 11 in every game, but would constitute a very important part of our substitutions, or players who could fill in for first team players when the players need rest. So the fact that we don't have the resources to get a very strong bench strength right now means that a lot of our players have to subject themselves to almost every game, whether that's a league game or a UCL game or a cup game. Our financial woes have somehow trickled down and have been transferable to our injury issues as well. So this is about it. I think these are some of the reasons that I could find out on the internet and think about why as and think about as to why we are facing these difficulties and in terms of injuries. And I hope we can get better at this. We can find a solution to this. We change the way we train, um, and hopefully the injuries reduce because for the past couple of seasons, injuries have plagued Barca. We've ended up playing the Europa League because of injuries, and hopefully this season that should not happen, given that we started well in the UCL. But the point is that we want to go ahead. We want to do well in the UCL. We don't just want to get out of the group stage. That's not what FC Barcelona is all about. Barca is about winning every single title there is to win. And we have a squad which can run deep in the UCL. So we have no reason to settle for just reaching the round of 16. So it's very important to make sure. And I think Javi has. So when Javi came in, he got in a new physiotherapist with him. He got a new training staff with him, and I think that was supposed to be the start of a revolution when it came to Barcelona, um, being relatively more injury free. But it seems that it's not happened so far. But the fact is that Javi's only been here for about a couple of years, and it's gonna take it's gonna take some time to undo all those years of um, wrong training practices that have been inculcated in the Barca dressing room. So let's see. Let's hope for the best. I really hope that we can get through this injury session, because the fact of the matter is that yes, we did have the World Cup last year, but even if you take the World Cup into consideration, no team across Europe has had as many injuries as we have over the past couple of months. So that really gives some room for introspection. And yeah, that's about it for this time. I would love to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that we've just been unlucky, or this is the after effects of the World Cup, or it's just bad management on the on or it's just bad management on the side of Barca because of which our players are getting injured? I would love to know what your thoughts are, or any other reasons that you can come up with. And I should see you guys soon, and hopefully we'll have the other coolers um make their first appearance on the channel as well. And until then, hasta la vista, coolers. So players got to go for their post-season break. It's not common. It's break.